If your sales conversations feel longer, harder, and more awkward than they should, this episode's for you, because confusion doesn't start on the sales call. It starts with marketing. It sounds busy, clever, or vague instead of clear. Vic and I are going to show you how small marketing decisions quietly create big sales problems. Hey everyone, welcome to another conversation with a marketing guy
and the sales guy.
So today we're going to talk about when marketing creates confusion, sales pays the price. And I think this is really important to think about is how marketing hurts the sales. And it's not the fault of either, but they both pay the price. Because when a marketing person builds a website, they're not thinking about the end user, the ideal client, when they're doing that. They're not thinking about that when they're creating a podcast. Why would somebody listen? What are some things that they need to know and learn to be helped with and be educated with to move them through that marketing funnel properly? And I think so often I see people post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, for example. And if I can look at your LinkedIn last 5 posts and not tell you what you do and how you help people, we have a problem. And there's a lot of people that are going down these paths of storytelling and everything like this, which sounds great. I'm not against storytelling. But at the end of the story, I don't comprehend how you were the hero in the story for your client, and we're missing something. Vic, I know that Josh introduced me to StoryBrand. Has he introduced you to that as well?
Yeah, I'm very familiar. And again, to clarify, I think this is what you were saying. Salespeople in marketing aren't the heroes in the customer story. They're the heroes of their own story. We're the guides, right? The Obi-Wan Kenobi to the Luke Skywalker. So yeah, if I may take it from there, something that guides, storytelling's great. Absolutely, that's where you're going. But how do you tie it into the issues that or the problems that you're solving for your clients and get them interested, right? Because this is all about the hook to get them started. And I'm the guy who shows up to a meeting who a minute in sometimes goes, okay, wait a minute, what is this meeting about? And if your client's doing that or your prospective client, you have a problem, right? Kudos to you for getting the meeting. But just because they put time on your calendar and now you've got them confused, it's fundamentally back to the basics of, do you even know what you do? And the problem there, Chris, I'm going to throw it back to you. This is rhetorical, but maybe you can answer it. Why does everybody want to be everything to everyone? Why can't they just be one thing or a few things to specific people?
Yes, it's exactly where I was going to take us, because people are fearful of niching down to saying, I can help these people with this. And those people are who we need to target in marketing. And sometimes marketers get very scared because they say, what if somebody that doesn't do that or not in that situation also could use our service? That's fabulous. We're not saying we're not working with those people. Sales isn't going to not be able to close those people. But we need to figure out who we're speaking to and build some clarity around that. The problems that we're solving for that particular niche of people or niche of businesses. What are we doing? And when we're not inflexible in the sense of like doing that and like, oh, we're only going to target these people, we're going to target everybody. Well, we're not selling toilet paper here. Not everybody in the world needs our product. And that's the problem. And even toilet paper, there's people that maybe travel full time in an RV. They're not buying the same toilet paper as people who live in a house. So there are, even in those situations, down to a certain demographic. So I think that when you let marketing just go after everybody, that's a big problem. And then we also forget with the clarity of what makes us unique. What's our unique position in the marketplace? If we sound like everybody else, we just don't stand out in our marketing. And there's this fear that, oh, they're doing this and they're saying that, so we better say the same thing. Not everybody cares if you're a member of the Better Business Bureau, for example. So just because your competitors put that out there, we're a member of the Better Business Bureau, we have an A-star rating, whatever the case might be. that doesn't mean that needs to be what's leading your marketing as well. You need to stand out in unique ways and find ways to stand out in your area of expertise to be different. And different actually attracts people more than being the same.
That's it. So, boy, I'm thinking of so much, but let me try to guide people as I do in a lot of my coaching situations, if they need it. But how do you overcome the fear of, well, what if? Because depending on where you're at in your business, and a lot of people watching may be startup mode or scale up, and I know I'm terrified at all times in my business. So it's easy to fall prey to what if, that person could need my service. And niching down, therefore, is a dangerous thing. But the concept that I think makes it easy for me and for a lot of my clients is vaguely specific. If you lean too far into vague, then you have the, what are we talking about? What are you even offering? And by the way, people's BS detectors go on when they hear someone say, oh, I do that too, when they just clarified that they do the other thing. So that's the vague. But the specific, if you go too far on the specific, then I'll grant that. Yeah, maybe you're leaving out somebody. So the answer is vaguely specific. And this isn't some game, and toyful, is that a word? Something where you're toying around with your target audience, but it is leaving it open for questions, which is really the key to all the interactions. You want to evoke questions in your next prospective client that will lead to you being the differentiators that you have, you being the answer. You also want to ask questions. And unlike we're doing in this podcast, salespeople need to shut up and just ask questions and listen. Wouldn't you agree, Chris? So how do you do that from a marketing perspective?
Well, I don't agree that salespeople need to shut up, but
we need to listen better.
Yeah, I think the listening is important. I know on my side of doing my sales for my business, once I stop talking, that's when I start discovering things. And that's actually when I see opportunity and I can tell stories and give testimonial like, hey, we do this for this client. And it seems very similar to what you're trying to accomplish as well. Let me show you. And I love showing people that the whole case study thing. I think that's really important for many businesses. Let me show you somebody that's similar to you.
That's it. If I may, you can't tell anybody anything, Chris, right? You can only show them. They need to see it themselves.
Yes. And I think that I know in my own sales, I don't want anyone ever to come into a sales meeting with the question of pricing. My price should be irrelevant in that conversation. They should already trust us. We should already establish that they can afford us. And now we're having, are we the right fit? And I think that's where the conversation is most important. Are we the right fit for their problem to solve? Can we solve their problem for them? Do we have a solution to make their lives better? If we don't have the trust, that's going to be very hard on that back end. And if we don't know if they can afford us yet, that's kind of a headache on our side because now we're wasting time. And I've gone on those calls where then I declare our price and they go, oh, that's more than I can afford. Oh, well, I just spent 45 minutes talking to you and we could have ended this in an email with me just sending you a price sheet. So that's why I personally like the idea of if you have general pricing, to put it out to the world to see so they kind of know what it is. Now, there's some people that everything's a la carte and it's more complicated, but at the end of the day, you go car shopping knowing your general price. Even though you go in and can work it down and negotiate some. There's a general price. If I can afford a Honda Accord, I'm not showing up at the Mercedes dealership looking for a G-Wagon. So I think those are the three things that I think are important for marketing that really help sales a little bit.
I think that's brilliant. I'm going to grab onto one thing you said because salespeople know instinctively and they're also trained to avoid price, rightfully so. It's a trap that you'll fall into. And there's a delicate way to kick that can a little bit down the road. We'll get to that, you say. I just have a few questions first to make sure we're the right, person for you. But I love what you said because, I know it, but you said it and it's got me thinking because the sales guy is like, no, I want to get in there and qualified and have a conversation. Then I'll talk pricing. But even if we just picked 3 categories and let's go to the big box home improvement stores. You've got your best, you've got your better, and you've got your good. I hear you saying that from a distance, somebody should be able to tell what that product and service is in one of those categories. I shared in a previous podcast about a CRM I was trying out where they blew up my phone, and I wanted to know the price, but you clarified. I didn't want to know the price. I wanted to know which ballpark it was in for the people that I have playing in a certain park, and they can't afford the luxury necessarily. Yeah, is that what you were? Can we continue that? Because I think that's very insightful. So how does marketing put out there that you're selling a yacht instead of a tugboat? Or I don't know anything about boats, but whatever the expensive would be.
I think it's in your images as well. So let's use a financial advisor, for example. So if you're showing images of retirees, old people with grandkids, you're sharing that you specialize with people that are already retired. Now, if you show images on your website of people standing next to a Porsche or a Ferrari or at a very expensive house, you're implying you work with people that have income now that are planning for a future retirement. So I think images and such can really help with that direction, to lead the brain to at least understand where and who you work with the best. You might not be able to just declare, I only work with people with so much, income or retirement, but you can make it with those visual triggers.
And Chris, I'm going to grab onto that because now we're back talking about the same thing. You can't be everything to everyone. And you don't have to go into a very tight niche. That's scary, but a little bit wider. But I love what you're saying. Let's take the website out of it, though. And let's say a salesperson's at a networking event. So we're back to the same theme, too, of listening. And you do that by asking questions. By the way, if you ask questions right, Chris, we know you're in control of the conversation. But think about your financial advisor scenario. You don't have to ask about net worth. Not that they would, I'm sure they know, but you're asking just about, without making assumptions, where are you at on your journey? And there's a better way to ask that question.
You can ask, where have you been on vacation?
There you go. That's a great question. And you're going to get a real answer.
That last vacation and how much they spent on it gives a clear indication of where they are in their finance.
That's it. Uttering any question with the word retirement, you might get a severe reaction of, hallelujah, I'm already there, or I don't even know anything about that. Yeah. So I think we're giving people enough. And, if you're not a financial advisor, what are the questions in your business, right, that evoke the same thing? But Chris, we're always going to dance around this theme. You have to have your starting point. Who do you serve best? And we've all been desperate, and we've all been starting out. But boy, if you have an idea, and I teach a 50-50 balance. What feeds your soul? What emotions come with, dealing with a certain product that you have over others or a certain audience, and balance it with the data, because the numbers don't lie, and it's usually a dollar sign. If those are in balance, there's your answer. Why are you looking to go get that out of balance, right? Would you agree?
100%. So let's use me as my example here. I want to help small companies. Those companies have a very limited budget. So what am I going to offer them? $100 services? How many of those $100 services do I have to close to pay my bills? So I now need to say, okay, I don't want to work for the Cleveland Clinic. They have more money, but I don't want to work on those type of projects. Where's this in between at that I want to be at? So now my marketing and conversations have to be to them. It has to be people that have teams. It has to be people that we have so much going on that somebody is handling the marketing, but maybe they can't handle all pieces of the marketing. They're doing great at social media. They're doing great at the newsletter, but I can't just keep expecting them now to edit a video. That's a whole nother skill level they don't know. So I'm then bringing an outside vendor to help us with that one little aspect of the business. So my messaging has to be different because of that, because I understand where people's budgets are. And I don't want to work for the Cleveland Clinic because they already have a giant staff. They have people that do what I do every day, all day, and they can do exactly what I do because they have enough employees and they pay them enough to know as much as me. So there's no value there. So here's this middle ground where I can add value to those businesses, and it goes back to that price point and that figuring that thing out. But I think, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, well, you're affirming what I said is you started with a happy place kind of concept of who you want to help. And luckily it's in balance with what they're willing to pay and what you need to charge. And if you set out to just, and maybe at the beginning you learned this the hard way. So for those listening who are in startup mode, I would urge you start with where you want to be, make sure the numbers match, and you may have it out of balance, but the fact is, what you also said holds true now, Chris. But what about future Chris, sitting on a worldwide empire? Have things shifted out of balance? I think if you just keep that in mind of where your happy place is and what that price point is. I know we've all met people who have an idea what they want to charge, but it is not in alignment with their target audience.
Sometimes people want to charge things that when you go, how many do you need to sell?
Right. Do the math.
It blows my mind. Like, I would never own a coffee shop. If you own a coffee shop and you're watching this, congratulations. You're doing something that I couldn't even imagine. Selling $3 coffees. How many $3 coffees do you need to sell to pay your employees, to pay your lease, to pay your insurance, and to pay yourself something worthwhile for the headache of owning this business? It blows my mind. I think that is the...
Well, you answered the question. They're not selling $3 coffees. They're selling $10 coffees, and they're really selling the experience. So let's take the lesson from that. And if you want a $3 coffee, you're going to Circle K, great place, but you're also buying gas. You're picking up your lunch, right? So there you go, everybody. And Circle K, okay, now somebody's going to say, Chris, but wait, I can be everything to everyone. But I guess you're going to have yourself on every corner all around the globe to have those nickels add up to the right level.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that sometimes people have these dreams like, hey, I'm going to charge $40. You're like, man, that seems like a lot of work for $40. And you're like, oh yeah, but it's a great value for the client. I'm like, that's true. You can probably sell a lot of them, but it's also harder to sell lower end products at a high volume. You got to figure out, how do I pull and get more money for you rather have less clients than more clients when it comes to your end of the month tallies for your P&L, your profits and losses. Yeah. So, all right. So I think I like to challenge the salespeople that are watching this. I want you to go onto your website, onto your company's social media. I want you to look at the images that they're using and say, do they reflect the people that actually buy our product and services? Or are we just putting out imagery that is not true? And does that complicate us later on? And how does that once we meet with them?
Then let me challenge marketing in the same way. Do that first, and then I want marketing to challenge sales and say, okay, this is what you told me, but show me the numbers. What are the last 10 clients? Who's our top 3 clients and our bottom 3 clients? And let's check it with the data. Because again, we may be operating off instinct or a dreamy salesperson who wants to take, that's what I want to do. But if that's not what the business is built for, right? That's what we're talking about. So if you don't mind that challenge back, and I think that's the way it should be. It's a feedback loop, I like to say, right? That gets better and stronger.
Excellent. Well, thanks for watching, and we hope that we've kind of helped you understand a little bit better of how you can put out your content that actually aligns better with sales, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get more videos from Vic and I.